Today I've compiled the core 8 things that I've done to have a very focused, minimal mobile phone. Now I will mention this will work on an iPhone. I mean, some of the things I'll say are somewhat iPhone specific, but you can easily replicate this on really anything. So you can opt for something like a Punkt, which takes care of almost everything for you by default, but it's going to be extremely limited. You can use like an Android device with a custom ROM. You can use stock Android. You can use an iOS device. I personally feel like my minimal workflow is most developed on an iOS device, and it's the most mature, and so it's the one that I'm going to show all of you, but a lot of the things on this will easily work on the other devices as well. First, why minimal phones? I think that there is a massive issue with focus in our world today, and I think that any type of steps people can take to reclaim their focus is a net gain on society. Now, the first thing is actually the phone itself. It starts with what you're purchasing. Now, some of you probably already have your phone and might still be looking to do things after the fact, but if you're in search of a new device, do think about what phone you're buying, because that can easily influence some of the things that you're going to be doing. Smaller screen real estate means that when you're web browsing, you're going to be exposed to less images. When you're on social media, you're going to be exposed to less things all at once. I personally am a huge fan of small devices, and I am very pissed off at Apple for discontinuing the 13 mini. This is a 13 mini right here. It is not only the cheapest iPhone 13, but it is also what I consider to be the most minimal, and it's all that you need for a phone. I think obviously form factor wise, the Punkt is gonna take it home here, and then you have the ridiculously massive freaking huge phones like the Fairphone and the Pixel 6, which I think are just ridiculous. It's insane how big these phones are, and when you put up an iPhone to it, there's like a whole inch and a half above it, which is just insane. The second thing is also kind of an obvious thing, but I think a lot of people skip over it for some reason, and it's removing apps you don't need. I look at people's home screens and they'll have, like dozens, hundreds of applications. Get it down to just your bare necessities and start deleting things you don't need. If you're undecided, just delete it, and then if you need it again, see if you can use it on a different device like a laptop, see if you can open it in your web browser, see if you actually need the application. Now, I generally have a very limited selection of applications, and they're just the bare necessities of things I need on a phone when I'm out and about. And then if I need something more, I can always go to a computer or something like that. So again, reduce apps first. And on that note, use web apps when you can. For example, Crypty down here is a web app. The next thing, and this is a pretty obvious one, is your home screen. I like to keep my home screen as clean as possible. So for example, you have just a browser, a messenger, some notes, and then some other communication down on the bottom left. The way I actually decided what goes on the bottom is either if it's something I need access to throughout the day, for example, like Crypty, or if it's something that I want to see badge notifications for, which in my case is going to be my email and a couple other VoIP providers that I use, in addition to Signal, which is my core messenger. Anything else is not on my home screen because I don't need it to be. And if you swipe over, I actually really wish Apple let you remove the app library. I don't like the app library. Now, you might be wondering why you might not keep things on your home screen. And the reason for that, I feel when you access a home screen with all of your applications, you're now put in a position where you have the ability to choose to open anything that might look appealing and interesting to you. Whereas if I go down to this home screen, there's nothing here. I have to actively, and you'll see later how I get to my applications because I don't go through here. I never go to this screen. This screen is bad news because now you're here and it's like, oh, hey, Mastodon. I can check Mastodon real quick. Oh, hey, I can quickly open my email. Why not? Oh, hey, I can quickly check my RSS feed. Oh, like these are all the things that might go on when you get access to a big screen with all of your applications like this. So I like to avoid this altogether. I wish Apple let you remove this app library because I think it's stupid anyway. Like, this is just a stupid feature. Change my mind. I don't understand why Apple did this, why Apple wants to sort your apps for you in this unmethodical, I don't know. I just don't understand the screen whatsoever, but especially from a minimalism perspective, I wish you could turn it off. With that said, I just have to actively avoid that screen, and that is the core reason why I don't want apps on my home screen, because otherwise I'll just see all the apps and just be mindlessly checking things throughout the day. Now, on the note of the home screen, I quickly mentioned navigation, and that's where the magic kind of happens on my phone. So on my phone, all of my navigation is done through Spotlight. Now, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Spotlight is when you just scroll down and you can search for anything on your phone. So I disabled pretty much everything in my Spotlight search with the exception of, I believe, contacts, applications, and then there was something else, but it's almost nothing. Pretty much the only thing I use Spotlight for, all things considered, is searching for applications. So what this looks like, if I go to my lock screen, let me unlock this. So if I open my phone, a lot of times I never even go to my home screen. If your phone's unlocked, you just swipe down. This is on, so I just unlocked the phone with Face ID, right? You just swipe down and you just open Signal directly from here. And then you click go. Boom, Signal's open. Now, let's say Signal doesn't connect because your VPN's not working. You just swipe down again, and then we open iVPN right from there. Okay, I fixed Signal. Now I want to open Simple Login. So we're gonna open, or I can even go to Mastodon, whatever, it doesn't matter. I can go open Simple Login, boom. And so the reason why I like this is you have to actively know in your head before you go into your Spotlight search what you're going to do, which is by far the most focused way to use a device, rather than being given a plethora of options every time you go to your home screen, and then from there you choose what you want to do. Because if there's a single thing that distracts you, you're going to go for the distraction, and before you know it, you're going to waste 5 minutes going down a rabbit hole. Versus Spotlight search only navigation is the most single track way to use your device, where it's only in your control and you get to choose exactly what you're going to open. I think Spotlight is by far the most powerful tool that you can repurpose for this, and it has done wonders for me. I mean, now it really is just I open an app and then normally I'm done, because you normally only have to open your phone for one thing, generally speaking. But if you have tons of applications, it's easy to get sidetracked. So that's my navigation, which is number 4. Now, number 5 is going to be downtime and screen time. So I think screen time is a very powerful feature. For those who don't know what this is, you can essentially set app limits for specific applications or categories of applications. And you can also set a downtime, and a downtime will do something like at 10 o'clock, all applications except your main messenger are completely turned off. And this is very powerful. I use this a lot. I set up a PIN code so that it's very inefficient for me to use my device at certain hours. I normally block off, I believe it's 10 to 8. So at 10 p.m. through 8 a.m., my downtime is enabled, which corresponds with the sleep focus mode on my phone. And that way, there's really almost no phone usage, at least in theory, during that time period. So I think this is very powerful. And if you've already done everything so far, this is just going to add a lot more power to your workflow. I mean, you already bought yourself an overall minimal device, you already reduced the applications on your device, you already minimized your home screen, you already changed to a better navigation system so you're not just switching between apps and kind of multitasking all the time. And also, if you implement this, then even if you single track applications, if you spend too much time in one application that tends to pique your interest, you can set a time limit for that. And so you can only, for example, let's say you have one game, let's say you have Sudoku on your phone, but you spend too much time on it, you can have it so that you can only play Sudoku for 20 minutes a day. So that's the kind of thing that this will help fix, and that pretty much covers most bases when it comes to navigation. Now, the next thing is probably not one that you've seen before, and it's NextDNS. So NextDNS is a DNS service, and no, this isn't sponsored or anything. I do have an affiliate link just through my account because I use them too, so I'll leave that down in the description alongside a normal affiliate link. But with NextDNS, essentially you can have parental controls, and I actually connect through NextDNS with iVPN because iVPN lets you use a custom DNS provider. Now, what this is going to do is you can set different parental restrictions, kind of like how in Screentime you can control like app limits and things like that. You can do that, but on a website basis, and you can just outright disable certain things at different times of the day. So for example, you can have it so that your phone can't connect to Signal's servers between 2 and 4 o'clock. Really whatever you want to do. You can also block things outright like social media and porn and really anything else you want to do, and NextDNS is totally free to use. In fact, I still use the free plan because I still don't use the full quota to have to upgrade. So yeah, I really like NextDNS, and you can use this on any device. You just customize it once, and then you pretty much use your NextDNS URL inside of any device of your choice, which is really freaking cool. Now, it's worth mentioning, you don't have to use NextDNS. There are other services like Control D. You can find a ton of things that try to accomplish this on a DNS level. I just personally really like NextDNS, and I find the UI and the layout and the usability to be the best for me. The seventh thing is just going to be the minor things. I do consider these things minor, and I think they get too much talk time, all things considered. You're going to see things like grayscale mode, which the phone, my phone is in grayscale mode. You're going to see things like disabling the bells and whistles in the settings. You're going to see things like I disabled Siri suggestions. I pretty much turned off notifications for every app except just the bare minimum. Right now for the video, I turned off auto lock, but normally I have auto lock set to 30 seconds. So if I'm not doing anything for 30 seconds, the phone shuts off. These are things that you will find like a million tips on online. That's just, they get a lot of talking time. And while I don't think they're not, I don't think they're unimportant. I just think that they already get so much talking time, and I think a lot of people have probably already done those things. But you can't just set your phone to grayscale mode and then not do any other changes and expect that to make a significant difference. So I think you really have to combine all of those tips together, and you do get maybe a minor benefit, but I do think how you engage with your device in the first place is the most important thing, which is why I really harp on removing the home screen and using Spotlight Search or trying to replicate that on an Android device, because that way you're actually actively using your device instead of passively using your device. But once you're here at step 7, I would say it really is the minor things, which kind of takes me to my last point, which is point 8. Whew, just whacked my phone. Point 8 is you punch your phone as hard as you can. Now, point 8 is I would say it's your mentality. So we're going to stop with the tech. I'm going to turn off the phone right now, and I'm just going to talk. You can kind of see my outline here. Hello. But pretty much it's the mentality and your own personal behavioral changes. It is a thing. You're always going to see people say, oh, you don't need to minimize your phone. You don't need to make boundaries. Just try harder. And that's not the reality for a lot of people. These phones are straight up addictive, and we have research on this. There's a reason why screen time goes up every year. Most people are on their phones all the time. So if it was just as easy as having more willpower, more people would be doing it. I see this as like a drug addiction or like an alcoholic or something like that, which is, I think it needs to be a combination of environmental changes to establish boundaries, and then the mentality changes required to pretty much stick to those boundaries. So that's how I would look at this. Everything we've talked about and done so far is all about setting up boundaries, but you can bypass all of them. You can bypass downtime, but you're just trying to reduce the amount of times that happens. You can always disable grayscale mode. You can find ways to abuse even things like Signal and just bug people late at night and get on long phone calls when you should probably just go to bed. I know that with some people. I just really want to harp here that all these boundaries I covered today are all an important part of keeping you in line, but it's still your responsibility to respect the boundaries and keep yourself accountable. I will say the cool thing is this only gets easier with time, ideally, because you're going to form those long-term habits of avoiding your phone. So every time you have that urge to go and check your phone or check an app and you fight it off, it's going to be that much easier next time you do it. So just to summarize, number 1 is pick a good phone from the get-go. You can still pick up a 13 mini. Hopefully Apple brings it back for the SE. I'm very optimistic about that. If you want a small Android device, I believe the smallest you can really realistically get with security updates is going to be the Asus Zenfone, but it has its own issues, so I guess tread carefully there. Number 2, reduce the applications on your phone. 3, the home screen. Remove everything you can from your home screen. And 4, move over to better navigation. That's not just looking at apps. It's actually actively choosing which app you want to open. Do utilize the built-in tools on your devices like downtime, screen time, and anything like that over on Android. You can use DNS filters like NextDNS, which I find to be incredibly helpful. There's the minor things like grayscale mode and all the settings that you can turn off or on your device to make things a little bit more focused. And then of course, the big thing I would really focus on is your mentality about it and making sure you stick to it and holding yourself accountable and doing frequent check-ins on yourself. And that is my guide to my, what I consider to be ultra minimal phone. I see some people make their minimal phone guides online and they're not that minimal. I do consider this to be ultra minimal. There's always going to be people who are more ultra than I am, that's for sure. But I do think that this is probably going to be a very, very good guide for a lot of people, and it's going to be more than what you're currently doing for most of you. So I hope this was helpful, and yeah, hope you all enjoy.